Okay, greetings, friends. Welcome to our summer solstice celebration. I cannot believe we are halfway through the year. It feels like um, quite a time warp. I am so grateful that we have been on this journey together. It has been, let's see, did we started in March, April, May, June. So we've already had a quarter of the year together. Um, Thank you so much for being here and for immersing yourself in the world of the bee. And again, I'm so grateful to have been to be your guide and facilitator. Um, I am often looking down at my feet. I recently got a puppy because there's a long story behind it. But Lord knows I have a lot on my plate, but adding a puppy seemed to be necessary for my emotional health. So my puppy is here with me, and that's what I'm doing. Um, anyway, we're going to jump in, and um, I'm also enjoying the rain. We have been blessed with some rain this past few weeks, um, and it is so needed. So I'm just feeling so grateful for the rain, even though we're meeting the element of fire here in the summer solstice. Um, Gosh, the rain is so needed to to quench the thirst of the earth that seems to be so dry already. Um, okay, so I'm going to share my screen and we will get started. All right, so oops, I want to do this. I think, oh, I know what I need to do first, guys, before um, I'm going to save it to a PDF so we have no issues with screen sharing for you to see. Just give me a moment. I guess while I'm here, um, there is a new module posted for you in the classroom. So summer solstice celebration. In there you will find the recording for today after um, after it's posted. Did it not? Oh, here we go. So the resources that I have here for class, you will find in this module, of course. Not opening for some reason. But there's also a recording, if you haven't watched it already, from June 3rd. That was actually a guest speaker, and we ran out of time, so I wasn't able to do some of the core curriculum, but we're going to be okay. I'm going to talk a little bit about it today, and we'll catch up in July. And then there are videos for you to check out that I put from recent hive inspections here at the farm. So check those out. And then here's the class recording with our guest speaker, Cassandra, who was amazing. Hive inspection videos. Here are the videos again, but then there's this other one that I'm going to cover today. And then here are the resources for today. So in here, there's some Facebook groups that I've shared with you and some other resources that will make sense after the lecture is finished. Okay, so I'm going to, Lane Redman is someone we're going to talk about today. You are familiar with her. You close all these windows and I'm going to find my PDF so that I have no problems sharing with you. Thanks for your patience. PDF for today is, where's my PDF for today? Sorry, guys. Let's see. Why is this not showing me what I want? Were they? Oh, I think I know what I need to do. Here we go. Okay. Mamma mia. Someone like, okay, I'm here. I got it. Ta-da. Okay, guys, sorry. Summer solstice celebration. Oh, so funny how yeah, how like old I feel with technology. I am not old, and yet sometimes it's a challenge. I'm just a farmer, I suppose. Anyway, um, here we go. Summer solstice celebration. A big, beautiful basket of calendula to get us in the mood for summer. Today's gathering, we'll have an opening circle. We're going to talk about summer hive inspections, and we're going to revisit some of the content from the spring plant folk class that I need to make up with you. Summer solstice rituals and plants, and then intentions for summer. So here we are in the wheel of the year. Last time we had a celebration was the spring equinox, and here we are at the summer solstice, technically on June 21st through the 22nd in the Northern Hemisphere. And we are entering the portal of the South. And this is also the element of fire. So we are, yeah, we came from spring together. Actually, we came out of winter together. You know, coming out of the darkness, the womb, the sleepy time, the dream time, the slowness of winter, moved through spring, which is the element of air, which is like this quickening, this time of becoming alive again, rebirth, fertility. I love using the word Twitter-pated. If any of you remember movie Bambi, where all the birds and the bees and the butterflies and the deer and the bunnies are all Twitter-pated. They're excited for the abundance to come from spring. And now we can move into summer. And when we work with the bees, we get to see this so clearly, these shifts in the seasons, just so beautifully represented by their energy. We're really lucky that we have this opportunity to learn from them. You know, I saw my hives coming out of winter kind of like moving the same way we did, slowly kind of stretching the wings, stretching the legs, coming out of the hive, taking a little bit of time to acclimate. And in the springtime, the queens started laying eggs, preparing for all of the hard work to come in the summertime. And now, if you look at hives, my hives or yours, if you're somewhere a little bit further south, our Canada friends are still seeing a lot of cool weather. But, you know, a lot of us are experiencing the activity in the hive where they are really busy now. And this is the kind of, we move through summer, and that's like the apex of the activity of the hive. So yeah, the wheel of the year is a beautiful thing for us to follow, and it keeps us grounded in the times that we're moving through. For me, these little mini celebrations that we get to do just reminds us of the rituals that we can bring into our life. You don't have to go on like a fancy yoga wellness retreat or go on a vacation to be able to tap into these rituals, these practices to keep you grounded in the changing of the seasons. So here we go. So it's also referred to as midsummer. This is June, July, and August, and we're in the archetype of the mother, which feels obviously like resonates with me. The stage of my life is motherhood, everything is centered around the mother, um, the energy of the mother. And the mother is nurturing, working so hard, multitasking, um, cares for so many and has the ability to care for so many, right? Um, sorry, I don't know if you can hear, we have really loud thunder right now. And the mother is the one that kind of pulls everything together too, right? And she's expansive, and she has the ability to hold so many things in place. And in the summertime, we feel this expansiveness, the abundance that is around us. Everything is blooming, everything is alive. And us as humans have the opportunity to also live like bees and the natural world, and to really try to design our life so that we work really hard in the summer and then we get to rest in the winter. And maybe that's why I love farming because I get to rest. I really try to rest in the winter, but now summer is like, we are working hard, and every day is an opportunity to do a million things that needs to be done. And that's okay. This is the time to do it, because also there's the energy of the natural world is behind you, is supporting you. It's almost like we're all doing this together, all like working hard to cultivate the harvest that is to come. And that like what's the word I want to say? The harvest is technically like already started if you look at your gardens, if you're growing food in like our market garden. But the harvest, like the culmination at the end of summer, right? Which is the fall equinox, where we really celebrate all of that hard work. So anyway, this is a time to, we moved with the bees through winter and spring, kind of like in the natural world, in the dream time, and then the spiritual space, connecting with them in the spiritual realm. And now we have the opportunity to sit with them in the physical space. So observations and time spent with the hive, now's your time to do it and really get to know them and know the personality of the hive, know your bees. And we move through summer with these energies of celebration, community, abundance, generosity, fire, and empowerment. So this is a picture from the other day. We have 2 apprentices here at the farm right now, and they have been suiting up with me every week. We go on Tuesdays. So I'm very excited because now I'm able to offer you our weekly videos that I've been sharing in the classroom. So this one is called Hive Inspection 613, and this is in the classroom for you to watch. It's 10 minutes, and I'm showing you guys how I move through the hive. And then there's 2 other videos from the previous week, 2 weeks actually, where we were adding boxes to some of the hives that were ready to expand. So I'm so stoked that you'll get these weekly updates now. And I have someone to film me, which is even better. Not like trying to rest my phone on the tripod on the beehive or have it fall over. And, I have some support now. So I'm excited. So make sure you go back and watch that when you're done with this. So we are going to just quickly talk about some of the things that you're going to work on in terms of your hive inspections in the summertime. The seasons of beekeeping, which we're going to continue to revisit this slide. In the springtime, which was March through June, we were pretty much not really in the hive yet, unless the weather permitted. The weather is still kind of cold for a lot of people, especially in Southern California. I actually have a client who lost his hive. That actually, the hive made it through winter and was doing great, and then happened to swarm. And then because of the cold, damp weather that's been happening in Southern California, the rest of the hive actually left too. And so spring is tricky in terms of, managing your hive. You want to get in there, you want to make sure that they're okay, but there's also not that many days that permits you weather-wise to do so. So now in the summer, it's like a great time for you to practice wearing your gloves, practice using your tools, get in there as often as you can. No more than once a week is necessary. It's okay if you want to lift the lid or sit by the bees every day. That's great. You can sit by them every day, sit by the entrance. And like I've told you before, you'll learn a lot that way. But then opening it up, if you want to look at frames, maybe once a week is enough. And of course, always being careful you don't smash your queen. But this is the time to practice in the summertime. The other nice thing about that is also, if you get into the hive in the summer, pick a time of day where it's warm and there's a lot of activity in the hive, because then there's less bees inside of the hive for you to bother. So a lot of them are out foraging. So in the summer, we see the days, of course, the length of the day increasing. Well, actually, I take that back. We've seen the length of the days increasing until midsummer, until the solstice. And what's crazy is that now at the solstice, we will start to decrease our days already, which seems kind of wild to think about. It's a technical thing. The days are already starting to shorten for winter, but there's still so much time in the day to get work done. The queen is drastically, there's a drastic increase in laying eggs, and you don't really see a decrease until probably end of July, when some of the resources start to slim down. So it's possible, though, depending on where you are, you will not see a decrease in egg production from the queen until maybe September. So when you're going in into your hive, there's a few best practices that I'm sharing here with you. First of all, of course, you want to wait till the temperatures are over 60 degrees, but also you don't want to really open the hive if it's over 90. Not great. If that's your only option, it's okay. Just make it short and sweet. But remember that the high temperatures can also heat the wax and melt it if it's exposed too much to direct sunlight. If your hive is in the shade, then it might be okay, but you don't also, want to open it on scorching hot days. Also looking for during times of flower bloom, you want to start to learn what the bees are foraging on. So if you're noticing that there's a big bloom of clover or a big bloom of vetch or something near you, you can start to look at the nectar that's being brought in inside of the hive and see if you can correlate it with certain plants. Of course, it's not always super easy, but sometimes there is a pretty significant difference in color in the nectar flow or in the pollen. And then during summer, you always want to check for ant control and robbing. This is really important, especially towards the end of summer when resources are getting to be more slim. There's less blooming, but there's more heat, and so things are drying out. Sugar and energy is in high demand, and so you'll find that the ant pressure may build, and the robbing from other hives could become an issue. So you want to make sure that you're checking for that regularly. And we'll talk about ant production protection, ant protection in the next class. And then, you know, pick mid-morning or late afternoon. Again, not during like the hottest part of the day. So when to not examine a hive: cold and windy days, raining at night, during the hottest part of the day. Let's talk about some of the options for our smoker as we're getting ready to move into our inspections. You know, there are some really cool alternatives to, in terms of like what you're using to make a fire within your smoker. My favorite is to use dried herbs, of course. When I was in Southern California, I had a big garden, and I grew a lot of white sage. And for me, like, it is an amazing plant that I love working with. Of course, you shouldn't be buying white sage unless you really know where it's coming from, or if you harvested it yourself ethically, preferably growing it yourself, because it is over harvested and is a plant that is used by indigenous communities. So it's really important for us to have deep respect for that plant. But you can also use black sage, rosemary, lavender, dried rose, mint, basil, etc. And yeah, get creative. It's so nice. I mean, the smell is incredible, and it gives you almost like an energetic clearing, cleansing at the same time, and for the bees. From our trees, you can use pine needles. They work amazing. Dried eucalyptus, cedar sometimes, yes, if it's in smaller amounts. Leaves that's on the ground, or mulch. Other materials: burlap, coffee bean bags, cotton or brown paper bags. And then you can also make a candle by using, like if you have old wax from a beehive, squeeze it into like a log shape, wrap burlap or paper around it, and light it. And then you can stick that into the smoker, and then create the smoke that you need. Using a smoker, I can't like really walk you through it, except for you're making a little mini fire, like a campfire in your smoker. So you get some tinder, you light that, and then you add your material that's more long burning in terms of time. So it just takes practice. But here you have some ideas in terms of what you can burn. So when you're ready to get into your hive, here's a few things to consider. Approach the hive from the back or the side. Please don't stand in front of the entrance, because that is their highway. And if you stand in front of the entrance, that kind of alerts them that something that shouldn't be there is there. Puff some smoke on top of the entrance, or into the entrance. So when you have your smoker lit, it should be like a cool white smoke. And I'll make a video for you guys, actually. That might be easier than me trying to describe it. Let me make a note here. So make a, you want like a cool, dry smoke for your smoker. And it doesn't, like, you don't want flames coming out. It doesn't need to be super scorching hot. So just give a few little puffs at the entrance. That's how I do it, at least. And that's just to tell the bees that you're there, but in a really not super invasive way. Also, something to consider: if you can create a pattern that you do the same pattern every time you get into the beehive, they'll begin to become accustomed to that pattern. And so for me, I give a puff of smoke at the entrance. I pry the lid open a little bit, do another little puff of smoke, open the lid. I talk to them. Usually I'm also humming or singing at the same time. I wait a minute for them to adjust the light, and then I go ahead and do my work. So if you can do that, then they'll become like familiar with this, you know, this ritual. Just sit down, please. When you are taking frames out, and you'll see in the videos that I've uploaded for you, and I've showed you how to use your hive tool, separate the frames, slowly pull the frames out. When you are looking at frames and you want to keep them out, you can stack them against your box or on the ground. You can lean them. And then, of course, being sure not to squish any if you're leaning multiple frames. Avoid jarring movements. Work really slow and methodically. Always record your observations, right? And then return the frames to their original order. So meaning if you took out 5 frames, you have to put them back in the same spot that they came, because that would be like going in someone's house and rearranging their furniture and then coming home and, everything is a disaster. So what are we looking for in the hive? We're looking for brood, pollen, and honey. We want to see that the queen is present. We want to see that there are eggs and larvae. Come on. And you'll begin to notice as the seasons change that there are certain amounts of brood, certain amounts of egg and larva at different times of the year that you'll become more familiar with. But in the summertime, you want to see a lot of brood, a lot of eggs, a lot of larvae, all at different stages, right? You want to see a lot of food storage happening, pollen and nectar and honey. You want to look and see that, this is a little bit more advanced, but there are ways that you can tell new bees that are born and become old enough to become foragers. You'll learn to notice which ones are taking their orientation flights, which ones are practicing how to fly. So you'll become more familiar with that. And then things you want to look for. If the population suddenly is decreasing, if there's not enough food in there, if you're noticing that the hive is acting lethargic, you start to see physical things like deformed wings. If you're noticing there's no eggs anywhere or no larvae, these are all indications that something is wrong, that there could be, the hive could be failing. And so you have to pay attention to see what the next steps are. So when we're doing these observations, we want to make sure that they're not too crowded. So and you'll see in the videos that I uploaded, if they're too crowded, then they'll swarm. So that's on one of our jobs, is to keep adding space for them. So that's why we add another box so that they can continue to expand. Are they too hot? You'll notice if they're too hot, a lot of the bees will be on the entrance of the hive. It's something called bearding, where the the bees hang on the hive and it looks like a big beard. That means they're too hot inside. So you need to find a solution, maybe adding shade for them. Is there a lot of robbing? Then you need to add an entrance reducer. Is your equipment broken? Did something break? Are there ants? All of these are really important to keep track of, just to make sure that the hive is set up for success. Again, remember, I share this example when I'm teaching folks about growing food too. If you put a plant, any kind of plant, and you just plop it in the ground and it's by itself, or if you have a plant and you put it in a pot just by itself, it loses its ability to connect with the rest of the world, right? Especially if it's in a container. If you put a plant in the soil, in the ground, it might have a better opportunity of success because it has the opportunity to connect with mycorrhizae and things in the soil. At any rate, the beehive is kind of like the same thing. If you're managing a beehive, you're taking it out of its original natural space, which is the tree, and the tree had already all of these characteristics to support the bee and provide the right habitat for it to thrive, right? So we're trying to recreate that. in this managed experience with these wooden boxes. So again, we're doing everything we can to ensure that they have the most success possible. So summer maintenance, again, you can check weekly or bi-weekly, looking for that expansion, making sure that they're building out frames, looking for the signs of eggs and brood, pollen and nectar, new wax. You want to have at least 2 deep boxes filled with brood and bees, and then adding the honey supers as needed. And again, we're going to cover this again in the July session, since I want to get to some of our content, well, the content for today. But what else do I want to say? Yeah, I think that's it for now. And finally, one more thing. Again, providing shade, providing a water source. You can create a really easy water, bee waterer. Adding screened bottom boards, which is a technique if you are somewhere really hot. The picture on the bottom here shows screened bottom boards, which allow more air ventilation for the hive. Combining weak hives if you have them, and then ensuring that they have enough honey to not just get them through the fall, but also the winter. So if you're in a place where the seasons are shorter, you may consider feeding bees right now sugar water and some herbal tea, which we're going to cover next time. But like for our girls in Canada, there's been a lot of rain and cool weather, so their season is a little bit shorter. So the bees have less time to build up all of those resources. Okay. So that's that. We'll continue to talk about summer maintenance next time. But something we didn't get to talk about was our spring greens session together. So I wanted to share a little bit about that with you. And for some of you, these plants may still be available. Some of them are for us. I know that a little bit further north, they are still available. But coming out of winter, we know that the springtime was a time for cleansing and purifying the body, clearing out the stagnation of winter, and jumpstarting our metabolism, jumpstarting our lymphatic system, really getting things working again before all of the work of summer comes, right? So here we have our spring greens, and these are just a few of them, but some that I love to work with, and they have become some of my best allies in terms of the plant world. So nettles, chickweed, burdock, dandelion, violet, plantain, red raspberry leaf, and cleavers. And all of these are considered weeds. And I love that because they are so prolific. They're often growing in the most challenging spaces, and just so readily available for humans to, and animals, of course, to enjoy. They're really like so giving, these plants. And it's such a joy to work with the spring greens. They have so much life and vitality in them. They are carrying the energy of the awakened Mother Earth, you know, through their cells, through the leaves and flowers. So it's amazing it's an amazing time to work with these plants. And a lot of them also, again, have this cleansing and stimulating in terms of clearing out actions for the body, helping your digestion or your lymph or your liver. They are really just so supportive to get things moving again. So I'm going to make a video for you guys on how to make one of my favorite salves, which is a cooling salve. And then I'll also show you a video how to make an overnight cold infusion of nettles. Nettles has become a plant that when I'm on it, like I will drink it daily, and I'll drink it before my morning coffee. And it just becomes this amazing, gentle way to wake up my body, and to also gently start stimulating the cleansing, after you've slept and all night. And for my family, I don't know, I think it is my European upbringing. And for my husband too, we tend to eat late, especially in the summertime. Even though like I try really hard for my children to feed them around 6 or 7, sometimes we're eating 8 or 9, and life happens. And especially in the summertime, there's so much work to do on the farm. But at any rate, if you're eating late, then you're like going to bed shortly after. And I feel like my body has been pretty used to that because, my parents, we ate late for some reason all the time. And I think that could have been my dad's upbringing in Greece. But anyway, starting your day with nettles, or even oat straw or an infusion of burdock can really help you kind of clear out the stagnation and get you jump started for the day. So the cooling salve is amazing. It is an infused oil base of plantain and violet leaf and flower, if you still have the flower, like this one pictured here. And both of them have these like cooling actions on the body. And this cooling salve that I make is amazing for summertime. And it's so beautiful how the plants set us up for success like that. You work with plants in a season, you work to harvest them and to process them and make the medicine that you need, and then that's ready for what you need in the next season, right? So I'll show you how to make the cooling salve in another video, and it'll be posted in your classroom. And then the overnight cold infusion of nettles. And this again is dried stinging nettle. You can buy easily or you can grow very easily. And very simple how to make a cold infusion. You fill your jar halfway, not actually halfway, I take that back. Nettles is really strong. So I would say fill your jar if you have a 24-ounce jar. You fill it with about 3 tablespoons of nettles, and then fill it with cold water and put it in your refrigerator overnight. And in the morning you can drink it just the way it is after you have strained it. I actually don't enjoy drinking nettles that much hot. I definitely prefer it cold. It has kind of like an umami flavor that you get used to after a while, but the benefits of nettles and all of these spring greens is like a huge laundry list. One most notably is like how many minerals they contain, which can become really supportive for women always, but especially when you are menstruating or breastfeeding or pregnant, any of the things that our amazing bodies are capable of. Mineral deficiencies are often kind of like the root cause of many things, especially emotional imbalances. And I've discovered this about myself as well, that if I'm deficient in minerals, if I'm not on it with my greens, then things like my luteal phase is a disaster, right? I jokingly told my godmother the other day that I was like Medusa. That is how I felt in my luteal phase. But yeah, drink your greens. And also the amazing thing about these greens is that you don't just need to enjoy them in the springtime. They are amazing year round. Of course, there are some plants that are better for mineral and support, and then also warming, like in the wintertime, we need warming instead of cooling. But a lot of these you can drink year round if you need to. So I encourage you to explore with the spring greens, and your assignment to share next time in our July class is how you use one of these greens, if you do, or if you haven't used any of these, experiment with one. And it could be as simple as making an infusion and drinking that for at least 7 days. So you'll notice a difference or a shift. I will post the assignment in the classroom. Okay. All right, so the rest of our time together, we will talk about summer and our little gathering today is, I'm just going to pause and take a moment to ground myself into this exciting time of expansion. I really encourage you to sit with your beehives if you can, or any hive that you may have access to, and take in the energy that is surrounding them and comes from within the hive. It is such a magical time to be witness to the realm and energy of the bees. And even though some of you are not here in live in session today, I'm just taking a moment to pause, and I'm bringing each one of your faces to my mind so that I can envision you in this space. And imagining all of us sharing these rituals of the summer solstice together. So some things for you to do this summer as you are moving through your life in witness of what's happening around you and what's happening with the bees. Reflect on what you wished for during winter. This is something really fun to do, especially if some of you had dreams from the first prompt that I gave you about the collective dream time. What did you wish for this winter when your hearts were kind of like submerged in the darkness of winter? What did you wish for? And see if any of that has come to life and has manifested for yourself. The time of spring and summer is also like the exhale of Gaia. During fall and winter, she is kind of like in the inhale, where she's taking in the rest and going down into the root. And in the spring and summer, again, with the expansiveness, we're like exhaling, we're expanding, we're reaching. The plants are literally growing and shining and spreading their leaves and their flowers. So it's a good time to practice mindful breathing, especially when you have a beautiful backdrop like a garden. And now is a great time to be outside. So mindful breathing, if you haven't been in practice like myself, now is a great time to recalibrate and get back into it, especially like breath of fire. Kundalini breathing techniques are an amazing way. If you're feeling still a little stagnant or not caught up to the energies around you, I encourage you to look into the breath of fire and Kundalini breathing practices. That will activate your fire. Yeah, really potent time. And during this time, we're also like actively moving through so much energy, and it's moving through us too. So it's really important that we keep that circulation going. And as I will share with you, let's see, is it in the next slide? Yeah, um, the this circulatory movement of energy in like the physical space of nutrients in the natural world, like being in the soil, the plant grows, the plant expands, drops its fruit or flower, and then withers, goes back to the soil. We see this cycle so rapidly through the summer months, right? And for us, it's important to support our bodies and minds in the same way, just like the bees do. You know, even though they have so much work to be done, they have all of these practices in place to ensure that they are able to keep continuing the cycle. Um, Most notably, rest and good medicine. So those and community work, right? Those are how they do it all. They support themselves with good nourishment, good medicine, and they work together. They're not working alone. And of course, they're resting. Um, so this is a time for us to look at that practice too. So in the garden this summer, we're planting seeds, we're harvesting, we're drying. In the biodynamic practices, we're in the space of the kind of like the etheric realm, um, where we're seeing the plants reach for for the astral level. And so the practices of biodynamic farming, for example, right now show us that we do things like foliar sprays or compost creation, so that the plants can reach their fullest potential and this also goes for animals too. Um, we're encouraging and supporting the plants and animals to reach their fullest potential to the astral realm. Whereas in winter, for example, we're doing supportive practices in the farm that encourage the regeneration of the root or the soil. So you can see how there's again these different energies at play. But again, it's like all expansiveness, growing and reaching. And that goes for the bees too. They're growing, they are adding numbers rapidly. We look into the time of honey harvest. This is a great time for you to practice mindful observation and meditation. Again, if you're out of practice, here is your chance. And you have access to a hive. Sit with the bees, and that will sync you right up. And what does that look like, sitting with the bees? If you're afraid you might get stung, that's okay. You can wear your suit, or just sit as close as you feel comfortable to the hive and just quiet your mind and listen. Sometimes when I was working full-time as a beekeeper, I would end my day by sitting right next to a hive, like with my head on the hive. And I would often wear my suit because there was so many bees everywhere. And I would just lay there with my head on the hive and, sitting on the ground. And it was amazing and delicious and mind-blowing. So most of you have been called to work with bees for a number of reasons, and this is one of the gifts that they share with us, the opportunity to sit in meditation. And what are we doing with our medicinal plants? We are harvesting, drying, making tinctures for now in winter, making infusions, making infused honeys, getting those salves done. It's a busy time for an herbalist as well. So here's an opportunity for us to also reflect on the mother archetype. And there's obviously a lot of conversation in women's circles, in goddess kind of centered conversations, um, women's work, healing. When we talk about the mother wound, um, or the mother archetype, and this could be a great time for you to explore some of that work, if you need to or feel called to. Because we have the queen bee here, in our space to kind of show us some of these needed, elements to the mother archetype. So, for example, she is incredibly hardworking. She is fertile. She is life creating. And yet she doesn't do it alone. And this can be like a painful thing for some of us as mothers, for example, or anyone who's creating and birthing something or some project into the world, feeling like you are alone doing that. And I speak with deep sincerity and reverence in my heart, because this is something that I also have and continue to work through. The loss of community, the loss of connectiveness in sisterhood at a like cultural global level for women of our times. And this is a great time for us to not just re-envision what our life could be like for ourselves and the collective women, but to actively participate in things that start to heal that that lack, right? So what does that look like? Spending time with other women. If you're a mother, like spend time with other women and the children. Actively co-creating spaces for each other. I have 2 other women that I'm friends with here, and we're exploring the idea of taking turns watching each other's children so that one of the moms can go and have some time to herself. Then of course we also spend a lot of time, all of us together. But what does it look like for women to, again, come back to each other and be the support that we so desperately need? And also explore the concepts of competitiveness and competition between women, and how women have a hard time making friends with other women. These are questions that I'm just putting forth because I guess I'm supposed to. Spirit is like talking through me right now. But the mother archetype obviously is just eternal, and I am deeply connected to Mother Mary, and I call to Mother Mary a lot in my life, and of course there are many Marys out there of different cultures that may resonate with you or may not, and that's fine. But there might be another mother archetype that resonates with you. And how can we heal some of that in this energetic space of the mother, right? Whether we need mothering ourselves, or a sister does, or we are trying to recreate something different in our lives. This is a great time to draw upon the queen bee and the energy of summer to do some of that work. Another ritual is a treasure pouch, and this is really fun. I forgot to bring mine down, but essentially it's a little leather pouch. I got it in herbalism school, and you put a string through your little leather pouch, and you collect treasures through the summer, and you put it in your pouch and you hold it with you all summer. And then you can also carry it into winter if you need to have these reminders of the life that is in summer. If you're If you have a hard time with winter, this is something good that you can do to um, put on your altar in the wintertime to look back at the abundance and magic of summer to come again. It could be dried plants, plants especially that you love working with. It could be shells, it could be special minerals, whatever it is. And it's really great for children too. And you can wear it daily or wear it as often as you want. Bonfires and releasing fire ceremonies. This is the season and the element of fire, so use it. It seems kind of crazy when it's hot outside to call in more fire, but it is so potent to work with fire. And if you haven't really done that much of it in your life, I encourage you to do so. The fire releasing ceremony is something that can be done alone or with a coven of other women or your partner, whatever it is. And it can be very simple or it can be very elaborate. But essentially, it is releasing things that no longer serve you and calling in more of what you want and need in your life. And it is very cathartic. It is very after you're finished with the ceremony, it almost feels like, again, the expansiveness comes back. You're burning away the clutter, the emotional or experiential clutter of your spirit and your soul, to allow for more life to come through. There are many ways to do a releasing ceremony, and I invite you to just do it however you feel called to. Create a sacred space, invite those that you want to be present with you, and those that may wish to do releasing as well. And make a fire. It can be a candle or it can be a big bonfire. It doesn't matter, but write down the things and burn it and see what comes in for you. Potlucks and parties. I mean, who doesn't love a potluck? Now's the time where potlucks are so fun. Again, bringing in community, being outside, being with children, eating amazing food. I'm obsessed with food, as you've probably gathered. So make it a ritual for you and your community. Be a community leader. If you want more connection, then do it. Often it's going to be up to you. As my husband and I have found here in Missouri, if we want those things, we have to create it. Flower crowns are an amazing craft that you can do for yourself and with your children, anyone of any age, your goats. Make flower crowns all summer long. Adorn yourself with the beauty of the natural world. And finally, now is an amazing time to learn the frame drum. If you have any time in your life to take on a hobby or a new instrument, if you're musically inclined, or even if you're not an experienced instrument player, the frame drum is really fun. And the frame drum is also a connection to the bee priestesses. No, that's mine. No. Puppies and shoes. This is a picture of my dear friend Giselle, and her and I live together in Laguna, and she's an amazing musician. She's a sound bath facilitator. She's also a yoga instructor, but she also plays the frame drum. And I am just always in awe of her abilities to play the drum. In the resources that I shared with you, there are some groups for you to check out if you're on Facebook of women who are active in frame drumming. And then you can also learn about Lane Redman, who was an amazing musician and artist. And her legacy lives on as she was kind of a pioneer in remembering the deep connection that women have to the frame drum, and especially the priestesses of the ancient world. The bee priestesses that we talked about in our equinox celebration played the frame drum in the temple. And so you'll see a lot of connection between the bee and the drum. And it is a powerful tool. And I've mentioned to you before, you can use the drum to catch a swarm. You can use your drum and play it for the bees too. I've done this before a few times where there was actually some robbing happening of one of my hives. And there was also something else. I'm trying to recall. There was some kind of intense disturbance with all of the hives at our last farm. I think it could have been either an earthquake or a really intense like thunderstorm, but all of the hives were like very agitated, which I rarely seen. And so I took my frame drum out there and I just started playing a really like simple rhythm that I made up. And it definitely calmed them down. You know, the rhythms of drums is something that is very primal and speaks to speaks to us on a cellular level. You know, we hear our mother's heartbeat in the womb. And I think that is why some, like all of us, are so moved by the drum when given the opportunity to sit and listen, right? So the frame drum, I encourage you to maybe explore this. I linked also a book by Lane Redmond, When Women Were Drummers. Amazing read. And she also has music on Spotify that you can look up. And she has an album as well, where she has recorded sounds from the hive that she mixes in with the music that she's created. So it's very, very very cool. So I want to hear from you if you plan on exploring the frame drum this summer. Let me know. Okay, finally, oh, and here's some pictures. I had it out of order, but here's some, these must have been on, at least the one in the back was on a pot, I'm sure. And the bottom right one. Yeah, different drums for the different priestesses and women that were responsible for that music. Okay, so plants for summer. We're looking for supportive plants that are cooling, nourishing, lubricating, hydrating, filled with vitamin C, energizing, helping us to manage our adrenals and avoiding burnout. Yes, and I'm laughing because as I was making this list, I was like, yes, yes. And you know, I want to offer something as a trick for you to rotate your apothecary. So a lot of us have like our apothecary set up where, you know, there's alphabetized or however, you know, you have it by category, whatever. But why don't you pull these plants out of your apothecary and have them in a little separate space so that you can reach for them more easily? Because I even forget, like Schisandra and Rhodiola. I should be using those right now. And yeah, just make it easier on yourself and enjoy these plants while they're so like, I'm getting so excited. Like as I was making this list, I was just like, yes, you know, remembering previous summers when I deeply worked with plants, like during my herbalism school, just like how lovely they are. Elderflower, lemon balm, cacao, cinnamon, rhodiola, schisandra, St. John's wort, calendula, marshmallow, comfrey, slippery elm. You know, so a lot of these can be stimulating, but they're also helping us manage the stimulation, and it's not pushing us into overdrive. You know, rhodiola is a great way for you to, maintain high energy levels without burning the adrenals. It actually helps you restore some of your adrenal function. Shisandra is like high on life, high vibing. And that's awesome. Like you can high vibe all summer long, girl. St. John's wort, like potent medicine that is like a blooming apex right now, but at the solstice. Calendula is beautiful to dry and save for later when you need an emotional and energetic like uplift, especially during colder months. Comfrey, great plant for us right now in terms of salves and ointments. And slippery elm can also be really helpful when it's so dry out, because it's so lubricating for the respiratory system. But again, like circulatory, digestive, and adrenal, these are systems that need to be supported as we are super high functioning and very active right now. So I would love to hear from you as another assignment. Let's do a monograph on one of these. So pick one of these plants and do a little description on it and see if you can work with it in some capacity over the summer months. These are our drummers again. And again, let's continue to share recipes in the classroom. I encourage you and invite you to upload and share plants that you're currently working with. It would be great to hear some of your inspiring uses. All right. Let's see if I want to go to. Okay. So yes, I already showed you in the classroom where you can find today's resources. Thank you again for being here. Happy solstice. I really hope that this summer is abundant, exciting, energizing, expansive, enjoyable. I hope it's filled with like joy and fun and connection and really like dig in and feel all of the magic around you. And please share any stories with us about your interactions with your hives. We'd love to hear that. Any videos that you may take, we'd love to see it. Would love to hear from you what's happening in your world. And I will see you in July. I believe it is July. Let me look at the calendar. July 1st, Saturday session where we talk about more core curriculum. So thanks again for being here. And I wish you well, and I'll see you soon.